61st Cannes Lions Festival, which concluded in June, had most of the advertising and marketing fraternity question where India was on the global creative map. From synchronized billboards to Bentley burials to epic splits and prosthetic arms, there were no limits to creativity from the festival this time round. So while those images are still fresh in the minds of our creative fraternity and before they fall into a rut, we decided to launch a new segment on our show called Self-Help, where we get some of the leading madmen in India to introspect and find out where India lacks in terms of creativity. We're kickstarting this element with Josy Paul, Chairman and Chief Creative Officer at BBDO India. Let's hear his viewpoint. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Josy Paul, and I'm here on the Brand Equity Show to interview a very interesting character, and he's going to talk about what's wrong with Indian advertising. Welcome to the show, my friend. So my first question to you, oh, by the way, I love that hat. Thanks, yeah. Cool stuff. That's your hat? Yeah, the question is, why are we not leading the way when it comes to global advertising, contribution? Why aren't we influencing the world enough? It feels like we are following. What do you think? Great question. I've been thinking about it because it affects me and in a way it affects the industry. I think we guys are playing it too safe. We've been playing it too safe for too long. And one of the big reasons I feel is that all of us play safe. We are playing safe in the way we think our strategies. We play safe in the way we express them through ideas and execution. And I think somewhere we are a bit scared. And we're not willing to experiment, break a mold, or do something which no one has ever done before. So I think that could be one of the big reasons, the fact that we want to play safe. So, and just to build on what I just said, if you take a body of work and you put it together and you start watching it, you get a sense that they're all the same. It's like everybody is talking the same language and doing the same thing. It's like you wonder what happened. Is this what it is? Is there no other sound that India has? And I think that's because people are looking at each other instead of looking at where our real culture is going or where people are coming from. Great point that you mention it. But just building on what you just said, do you think, therefore, that the industry has misjudged its audience? Do you think that the audience has moved on? And if you look at what's happening in social media and the conversations on the internet, are the emotions that are playing out there far wider and diverse than what you're seeing in advertising, which seems to be, as you said, a sameness, a same kind of sentimentality or humor or whatever? It's like someone's writing from the past. What do you feel? A lot of these things start with you as an individual. I've noticed that if I try to change an organization or external parties, it doesn't work. You've got to lead it. And what I'm finding is that many of us, including me, are afraid to fail. And that's why I think we are seeing this sea of sameness. Because there's this amazing security of, doing things that have worked. And failure is so looked down upon in India, and we've forgotten that failure is just another incident in our lives. Our source of influence seems to be coming from a very limited sort of, spectrum. And I think that is why we are living in this little fishbowl. And the thing about diversity is that we get it, we understand it, but we're not realizing it. Because, for example, many of us go to Cannes, but it's that same fishbowl that's going to Cannes. And the fishbowl sinks into the ocean of diversity and assumes that it's part of the diversity. But when we come back, it's the same fishbowl that's coming back. So we assume that the ocean has sort of entered us, but it hasn't, because we're doing the same thing. That was a great observation, the sources of influence. With a great cap. I really love that. So do you think, how do you, for example, change the sources of influence so that, there's a new freshness and you're finding new influencers? And on that regard, do you think there's any learning from World Cup football for us in advertising? Yeah, I think the World Cup is a great learning center because I mean, if you look at what happened with, the teams that, only looked at a few players who were like superstars, they eventually lost out to teams that were working in a collaborative team effort. People who were, which was based on precision, which was based on a collective understanding.
Yes.
And I think today the collective understanding has beaten individual brilliance. That's what I've learned from this World Cup. It's not about just one individual, and these things take time. Germany took more than 10 years to breed that talent that thinks that way. And that's how, this sort of collective understanding helped make a difference. Hey man, your answers are really cool, yeah? Like that cap. How come you weren't you afraid the first time you met a client with a cap like that? It's quite audacious, yeah? Must have taken some guts, right? Well, I had a really big meeting with a very big advertiser in Bangalore, and I thought that if I wear this cap, then he's not going to tell me to do the same thing that he heard someone else say. He would say, this guy's different, I'll accept a new answer from him.
Yep.
So I did it for that. Actually, that reminds me, what's the last really audacious idea that India has had? I think that's a great question, because it's important for all of us to go back to what are the things that India did that was audacious. And the last thing for me personally was the Zuzu campaign. I think that was audacious because it broke all the molds. Nobody could write that before, and that's what's great about it. I've been in meetings where everyone's so scared to say anything, and sometimes out of sheer anger I'll say a loud bad word, just so that there's some energy in the room. It's just the need to say, guys, it's okay, it's only a meeting.
Yep.
Say something that makes us think again. That's what it is. Reframe my world, my friend. Say something different. So we're running out of time. Thank you so much for joining the show, Josy Paul. You were awesome. And someday I hope I can be like you.